You almost have to differentiate Rolex as a brand from Rolex as a company. When you think about the situation they find themselves in, right? Um, Rolex as a company isn't going anywhere. It's a private trust, not private. I mean, it's a public trust set up by Hans Wilsdorf. He died childless, and he set Rolex up as a nonprofit trust to the Swiss government. So Rolex isn't going anywhere. It's got tons of money. It's got tremendous resources. They actually make very good watches. Uh, Case in point. And so I'm more frustrated with Rolex the brand than Rolex the company, because if you think about it, Tudor is Rolex the company, and Tudor is knocking it out of the park right now. They're making fantastic designs. The new Pelagos may not be making everyone fall in love with it, but it's damn sure got the press talking about it. It's got everybody talking about it, you know. So the new Pelagos is interesting, exciting, worth discussing, good looking, horologically significant. So, you know, you really find yourself, just as the retailers are finding themselves between a rock and a hard place, you're caught between the good part of Rolex and the weirdly evil part of Rolex. Or I shouldn't say evil, but the indifferent corporate side of Rolex. So Renee says, I think the shops would like to sell the pieces, but they aren't allowed to do that. Rolex wants them to keep the watches as display items. Renee, I think that it's a little of column A and a little of column B. I think they are keeping the watches as displays because if they sell them, they won't have displays. But I also think a part of it is that they don't know who to sell them to. They don't know who to trust. Someone walks in and buys it that they think's a good customer and takes that $5,500 €5,500 OP and flips it for 3,000, 4,000 euros more. It's got to be on the dealer's mind. So the ADs, like I said, I think they're a little bit between a rock and a hard place now. They're the dog that caught the car. They're the most valuable brand on the market, so they can't even sell their products at retail because the inflation is so great in the residuals that it's an inverse to the joke about cars that it loses half the value when you drive off the lot. The Rolex gains half of its value when you walk out of the store. So they're in a catch-22 in some senses. Yes, they want to leave them on display, but the other side of the coin is they don't know who to sell them to. They can sell them to one of their best customers, and that person can flip it. So, I mean, I can appreciate the situation they're in, but I kind of laugh because they put themselves in it. If they had dealt with their supply chain issues and if they had dealt with their um, chain of ownership issues, tracking. They got a barcode on each of those damn watches. There's no reason they can't track every single watch. The fact that they don't is either laziness, stupidity, or an incompetence. And I don't think they're stupid or incompetent. And I don't think they're lazy. So that means that there's some other motive that we don't know. And it can't just be pure profit, because I mean, Rolex, well, what they really need to do is develop an integrated bracelet version of one of their sports watches and jack the price up. But yeah, I think that they're a victim of their own success at this point. Everybody wants one, nobody likes them. And so that's another reason I got the Explorer 2. It's the least flex Rolex. You don't flex an Explorer 2. You don't show up at the bar and go, "I got an Explorer 2." Everybody knows it's one of the cheapest Rolexes out there. Every watch collectors know that it's Rolex for watch collectors, but you don't buy this if you want to go to the pool and show off next to the guy in the sub and go, "Well, I've got an Explorer 2." No, that doesn't work. You might get it with an Explorer, oddly enough. The Explorer has more wrist presence in the Rolex sense. It has more of the modern Rolex DNA and bigger, shinier. Um, but the funny thing about Rolex is that, like I said, Rolex is a company. Tudor is making some fantastic watches. Tudor is knocking them out of the park. They're really, really making people think, and they're really well. I have a whole video on that too. I believe the new Tudor is the old Rolex.